Hello, everyone. It is May 16, 2025. 2024. Woof. I'm just a year ahead of all of you. Hello, Analog Synth Player, Alicia DeMoss, Blues de Jours, Sandra Pillar Gill. I'm very sorry to hear that. Yeah, well, a whole lot of people either don't understand it or think that you're, bullshitting and judge you, or they just don't want to hear it. And that's unfortunate because those who are depressed have a very difficult time finding solace, and that's very important. I hope you have some support, Sandra, because without it, it's very hard. Andrew Cruz, Donna Davidson, hello. I'm not entirely sure what you mean. A lot of people are going through hard times right now. They don't know how to handle it and try to reach out in the wrong ways. Oh, that needs some additional facts. I don't know how they're reaching out in the wrong ways. Laura Kay, hello. Vihar, hello. Rage Against the Machine. Barb in Ohio. Sea Angel Girl. Jane Northrup. Whoa. T Lam and L24, thank you very, very, very much for showing up. And James B. and Agnes and DeMarquise, hello. Silent Walk, hey. Oracle 11 and Cecilia Amarati, hello. George. Sheepdog Patriot. Super Painting 62, hi. So, we've got a lot of severe weather going on as I speak. Tornado warning, Harris County, and areas in Galveston, and this is current radar. And unfortunately, it's going right on into Southwest Louisiana, Lake Charles area, Louisiana Skywatch area, and I don't understand why people aren't questioning this, but as you can see, it takes on a nice box shape with a strong pulse, boom, right in the middle. See that? Right up here, northwest Louisiana and the Texas border, very strong pulse. And these storms are really whipping along. They're claiming 80 to 120 mile per hour winds for Houston. That's what, Category 3 hurricane strength? Up to 120 miles per hour? Definitely Category 2. Not good. I'll show you what I captured earlier. And this was at 6:47 a.m. So it was 8:47 in Texas. And as you can see, they are priming this atmosphere for these storms. Look at these extremely low frequencies. If you look close, you can see all of the lines. And I thought this was an interesting rectangle shape, which I stopped the video at one point just to show you. And it's very obvious. They can put in their coordinates, and voila, they got it going. Right here. squared off. Well, rectangled off. And all of the extremely low frequency blasting away right in the area that they have these storms now. And I will also show you the other capture.
Moisture through the entire depth of the atmosphere. Think of
that I took at what time? 1:47 p.m. Oh, I was also listening to a meteorologist talk about all of these storms that are going to be very dangerous, causing flash flooding and tornadic activity and hail. And did you see these supercells ignite New Mexico? Then they entered Texas. All right, well, yeah. When I say daily weather warfare, I mean it. I mean it. It's not good. So this is the forecast model, which you'd like to think it's reliable, but it changes. But this, you can look at the forecast for 24 hours, and that's pretty steady. That's reliable. But then as the forecast goes on, for like a week or two, no, because weather is changing an awful lot. So this is at 6 p.m. and it's 7 p.m. in Texas right now. And look at this. This is not good. That is an awful lot of rain, which this area of Texas does not need more rain. In fact, from the flooding that occurred just about a week ago, they've gotten more rain, and many areas are still sitting in water. It hasn't receded. The rivers, well, unfortunately, a whole lot of flooding is going to come from the rivers. And it's going right into Louisiana. So this was the image at 6, just an hour ago. And this is the image at midnight, or 6 a.m. Friday. I'm sorry, wait a second. All right, this is the image at midnight tonight. Midnight on the 17th. Excuse me. So if this forecast actually is true, they're going to hold all of those storms right in southeast Texas, where you do not need any more massive rainfall, nor do you need any tornadoes, nor do you need any quarter-size hail, all of that coming, heading right into the same area of Louisiana that has been hit now. Well, they got a tornado 2 weeks ago. Lake Charles area, I'm talking about particularly Louisiana Skywatch. That's where she lives. Okay, so tornado about 2 weeks ago. Then another tornado, and now they're looking at a whole lot of flooding. It gets a little bit much. All right, so I just want to, I'm going to put in the chat the links to this radar site, but look at these pulses going through up here at the top of this squared off precipitation that you have. That's not Mother Nature. That's a signature of man using frequencies and coordinates to create all of these storms. And you also, unbelievably, you had a tornado warning come out for Milwaukee. Milwaukee. You see the supercells up here in Wisconsin. You see the supercells down here in Illinois. a line of a very defined line of supercells stretching from Oklahoma and to Kansas and to Missouri. This is very concerning. It looks like, it's boiling. It's boiling up. Well, the use of frequencies is very dangerous right now. And the forecasts are very concerning, to say the least. But this is current time, so this is happening already in the Lake Charles area. Look how squared off it is. Right here. That's not Mother Nature. These defined lines, the right angles, that is electromagnetic frequencies. But you also have a whole lot of these storms up here this is Lubbock area, is that how you pronounce it? In Texas? Lubbock, and I don't know. Look at this. Look at the incredible speed. Now this is only a 3-hour loop. 3-hour loop. Look at the incredible speed that they are sending these storms. All right. I'm going to put the link in also to Tornado. It's, did I not put the link into the radar site? All right, that's a tornado alert site. Tornado headquarters. It's tornado headquarters. 14 active severe weather warnings for Louisiana, Montana, and Texas. Well, you got a supercell here in Montana. But some of these may have already expired. All right, so you come down here. Here's your tornado warning zone. That's squared off. And let's see. Not quite sure why Montana was in there. All right, so the alerts. You had one 15 minutes ago. The warning started 41 minutes ago. Warning end 15 minutes ago. So they were calling for a tornado for northwestern Galveston County, northeastern Brazoria County, southeastern Harris County, which is the Houston area. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Magnolia Park or 2nd Ward. Tornado and quarter-size hail. All right. Since they haven't posted that it is expired, and I don't even know what hit, if anything hit. The radar link is right there. But we have close to 200,000 without power in Texas. Without power. So let's move on. All right, the barge hit a bridge in Texas, damaging the structure, causing an oil spill. All right, just a few moments of this, and then what I really wanted to get to was the large barge that slammed into this bridge stranded thousands on Pelican Island. That's why it's really inconvenient. These barges that are I just don't get it, man. We need to start asking questions, I think, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. All right. But power outages for Texas is 160,000. Tornado sirens going off in Texas. And this Houston weather, this was just posted about an hour ago.
Just continue to see the water level continue to rise in this area. Now, all the flooding in this area, that is due to the rain that happened a couple of weeks ago. So imagine having to deal with the flooding and then more rain coming as you're starting to see it come down. Now, we measured the water. Go ahead and take a look at that sign. It says Green Rich Shores. When we got here earlier today, you were able to see well below that Green Rich Shores. Now you're just seeing the water continue to rise, and it's at the end of that tidal. Now, looking further down, there is a black pickup truck there completely underwater. As I mentioned, we've been out here since 11:30 this morning, and you were able to make out the tires. Now you're not seeing that. So we did speak with a lot of residents here who tell us that despite the rising water levels, they will not leave their residence.
Well, I understand.
We've been out here all day talking to a couple residents who tell us it's a hassle getting around. We spoke with some residents who tell us they went out now to go get groceries and stock up because they are not leaving their homes.
The water in front of my house is still about knee deep. I can't leave with my garage, my car at all because I don't want to drive through the waters. That's why we just went to the store. So try to, get ahead of things because we're not leaving. I mean, we're not going to leave.
Look at this home right here. The back porch completely lifted from where it was, and it is only expected to get worse in this area as more rain could bring more potential flooding to this area.
If it happens, I'm prepared for another 6 or 8 inches. If it goes much more than that, it's going to give me some trouble.
Right now, I'm on top of an aluminum boat. For many people here in the Riverside area, it's the only way to get to and from their homes. Others use it to get around town, and some neighbors even use it to rescue.
I'm just going to play a few minutes of this this man's live stream. Houston, Texas tornado warnings, 100 to 130 mile per hour winds. It's the Texas Weather Center. Well, I am going to subscribe, and you might want to as well. Yeah, you really need to pay attention, especially guys down in the South. The Texas, the Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. I think, look, everywhere in the country, everybody should be paying attention to what is happening with the weather. But as you are literally in a war zone. Southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana, then going across, so southern Louisiana, it's a war zone. And you're being hit over and over and over again. And this has been going on, frankly, all year. And I'm afraid it's only going to get worse. for you. I listen to this guy and I'm like, all right, I want to see Louisiana. Ah, she's here. Unfortunately, boats in the South are a necessity. Okay, good, Louisiana Skywatch. Nice to see you.
Community, Pleasantville area around 640. North Shore, El Dorado, Oaks Prairie around 645. This tornado warning includes Minute Maid Park, Discovery Greens, TDECU Stadium, Rice Stadium, Shell Energy Stadium, and Memorial. This is a tornado warning. Even if we have no tornado, destructive hurricane force winds of 80 to 120 miles per hour are moving through Harris County. This will not uniformly impact the entirety of Harris County. This will bring destructive hurricane-like wind damage to parts of the city of Houston, Jersey Village, Bel Air. This is going to be a significant impact to the power grid. Some folks are not going to have power back for days. The potential for downed trees, damage to buildings. We're going to have a lot of wind damage. Please be away from west and north-facing windows. We do not want you to be hurt by flying glass. If we have something like a tree branch hit your window. This is a situation where folks in the city of Houston need to be in a safe place. Power outages have gone from 120,000 to 200,000 customers
Local
now.
Storm report from Crane in Crane County, Texas. Hail magnitude measured 1.00 inch. Reported
Centerpoint.
by amateur radio.
CenterPoint Energy now reporting 200,000 customers without power, especially on the west sides of Houston. This will likely double to triple in the next 30 minutes as this moves across Houston. This will be a situation where we may have hurricane-like damage in terms of wind. I'm going to stop this loop. I'm going to show you the wind. Again, I'm just going to let's show you. Again, this is not good. Folks, I want you to understand. This is a relatively large area, equivalent to that of a hurricane eye wall of major hurricane force winds moving through the west sides of Houston. I'll be honest, I haven't seen something like this in a very long time. Wind gust of 100 to 130 miles an hour. Folks, this is going to be one that goes down in the books in terms of damage from a thunderstorm in the city of Houston. And for some folks, this is going to look like Ike from 2008 in terms of all the trees and power lines. So again, this is extremely dangerous. I want you to understand this and why I'm emphasizing the need for you to be away from west north-facing windows. If you are in the city of Houston, Spring Valley, Bel Air, West University Place, this will be approaching the John Dunn Helistop Airport. Winds of a Category 3 hurricane, Ike level, coming in. This has already knocked out power to hundreds of thousands of people in just the last 5 minutes in the west sides of Houston. This is probably causing significant damage. There is going to be, it's going to look like a major hurricane hit the west sides of Houston when this is done.
Okay, so I did look at some of the wind sites. Where am I? And well, now it's 4:20 p.m. and Clean 23. These are wind gusts. The wind gusts are not showing these hurricane winds, but it has been my experience through learning about weather modification and all of the electromagnetic frequencies in play that they can bring to you a wind gust of 100 miles per hour, no problem, and it literally is there for a few seconds and gone. Check out scalar weaponry. So, Yeah, I did see Fabulous Troll. Oh. All right, so whatever sites other people are working off of, they're not sites that I have worked. But look, we've got an awful lot going on. We've got the Gwen Towers. We've got the high frequencies from Doppler radar, pushing up the ionosphere, and then they release the power of those frequencies, and then that ionosphere comes whooshing down, sending extremely low frequencies. They have Gwen Towers that shoot off into the atmosphere or through the ground, extremely low, extremely low frequencies in which they can modify, steer, intensify these storms. Can they intensify them just for a few minutes? Absolutely. Will that show on a radar site? Probably not. So it's very hard to really be able to say anything definitive about what is going on, because they have so many different methods. But I will tell you this, it is my opinion, based on my research, based on watching radar, watching satellite several times a day for about 14 years, that all of our weather is created, modified. It is controlled. Now, I'm going to play just a few minutes of Into Thin Air. The link is in the chat. And I do recommend, I'll put his channel link. I recommend that you subscribe. There aren't a lot of channels, and I don't post like I used to post, and I'm not happy about that, but that is the reality. So as far as I'm concerned, Into Thin Air, do I have to agree with everything that someone says when I recommend a channel? I don't. I might disagree with a couple of things. That doesn't make me feel like I can't recommend somebody and I'm going to unsubscribe. Wow. No. I think he does incredible work.
Taking a look at the long-wave infrared, we can see some very weird anomalies and shapes, like straight lines, things you don't normally see in weather. And again, these are right inside of two NexRad radar tower sites. All right, everybody, welcome back. May 16th, 2024, and we're going to discuss some of this severe weather that's going to be hitting Texas and Louisiana, as we discussed days ago. And with that, we need to explain some very weird things going on. Look how these storms are wrapping perfectly around NexRad radar towers. They're right in this area. I'll explain that, and also the exact area we said to watch. I want you to watch this radar area down here. It is a complete circle, and it is very much activated, and watch what happens to all this weather. It begins to just shoot straight south into the eastern part of Texas, and then will blow up right here, as we said, Texas and Louisiana, just as we posted 2 days ago, warning of this exact area. And look what's going off in that area, the exact anomaly from the exact radar tower we're talking about now. You can see it right on your screen here. It's just pulsing like crazy, creating an entire 360 beam, and we can see it is clearly affecting this weather. We had a weird glitch right about there where a bunch of the NexRad towers shut off, and then boom, they're right back on. So we can see that here. You can also see it on another chart I'm going to show you in a second, but this is clear as day. This is very much activated and is definitely affecting this system, and in turn will enhance it, just like we've been seeing over the last couple weeks. Taking a look at the long-wave infrared, we can see some very weird anomalies and shapes, like straight lines, things you don't normally see in weather. And again, these These are right inside of two NextRad radar tower sites. Very odd shapes here, jagged edges, things you are not supposed to see in nature. I mean, come on, this stuff is definitely not natural. It can't be, especially with the fact that we're seeing exactly what's causing these. And we can see it right here on this chart, the mosaic version of the NextRad radar towers. And then we see these storms just dip down straight to the south, exactly where this main tower is now activated. The more you watch this, the more you can see what's going on here. Take a look at that perfect edge right there. Now take a look at that system slowly moving to the east and then boom, dips right down into where the radar is activated. That's the end of the data we have here, but we could see before they try to change this that the tower is very much activated and covering the exact areas in which we're expecting this severe weather. Why would that be? Why do we not see any of these towers up here doing the same exact thing? It's because these towers are enhancing and influencing this weather 100%. And now, as you can see, NOAA has followed suit. Our original warning days ago was put out way before this chart came out. And now look at the wind percentage here. Here is our hail percentage, the 30% with the 15% wrapped around, mostly in Texas right now. That's over the next day or two. And then we see the entire system start to move into western Louisiana. Tornado risk as of now around 5% in those heavily watched areas. I highly recommend you check out my other videos on YouTube and here on X, where I explain this stuff in very great detail, as much as I possibly can, because it is more than important for people to know exactly what they're seeing here. This is not normal and it's not supposed to be happening. I'll have many more updates on this storm system as time goes on. Please take the time to share this if you can, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, Robert's Cabin, you can disagree all you want, but you look foolish when you state things definitively. All right, so Liberty County, this is in Texas. This is the area of, Harris County, close to it. Neighborhood at risk of disappearing after recent floods. And, yeah, more flooding coming to them.
There's still some standing water here in this part of the road, but about a quarter mile away from here, that's where the road is completely washed out and neighbors cannot get to their homes. Now, some of the livestock and animals that live out here have been left stranded and without places to go. And I did reach out to the Liberty County Sheriff's Office today, and they tell me that they will now be sending a livestock investigator out here tomorrow morning. You need help? By boat is the only way people living in the New River Lake Estates neighborhood can get to their homes. It's because many of their homes are surrounded or filled with water from recent floods. Angie Yarbrough has lived here for 48 years.
Harvey was bad enough, but this is Harvey on steroids.
The animals also taking the wrath of the high water. You can see this bull and other cattle are standing on the only dry place you'll find. A group of dogs are seen barking as they stand on a porch that's surrounded by water.
People are trying to come in with dog food, trying to put food on porches and feed these animals, but it's still a desperate situation. They can't get off of these porches. They can't go anywhere to go to the bathroom. It's like being in prison.
Yarbrough says the conditions are increasingly becoming dangerous for the animals.
I'm getting a little concerned about some of the dogs. They're beginning to group up and have a pack mentality. I understand from a neighbor that several dogs ganged up together and killed another dog.
The area is prone to flooding. Harvey washed away roads that were so bad, neighbors were given buyout options. Some took it, moved on, but many stayed, like Yarbrough.
We've recovered from many floods before. We recovered from Harvey. It wasn't this devastating. And the county repaired the small area of road that was damaged, and life went on.
This time is different. She fears her peaceful, quiet home on the river won't survive another flood.
After these years, the floods keep getting worse and worse. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm giving up my fight. I'm gonna leave this place. And wonderful life here. I can't stay. I can't stay anymore. So my whole life is here. My dad built my house, but I can't do it anymore.
I was told the county commissioner would be out here this afternoon to speak to residents. However, we have not seen him show up. I did speak with someone with his office today, and they told me that they will have to wait for the water to go down in order to see what might need to be repaired.
Oh my God. This was just like last night. Man, people are really having to deal with the consequences. And Lake Livingston, Lake Livingston Dam, they're releasing orders, flooding out communities.
Now I'm standing on a road, it's completely underwater, and you're going to find these pretty much everywhere south of the lake. That's because water from the north, it's still flowing downstream. So streams, rivers, they're completely blowing out of their banks. The Trinity River is so bad that entire communities are underwater.
Some neighbors weren't so lucky there.
During flooding events near Lake Livingston, the Cedar Valley community is often the first to feel the impact.
We've been dealing with it for years, so got to kind of watch it and then judge when you need to get some things out.
All right. Part of the routine for Waylon Hicks and his daughter Leanne Hopkins
Come on back a little more.
is to pull out the boat.
All right, pull forward.
And troll down the flooded roads to inspect the damage.
So this is my grandpa's.
On their trek,
It really hasn't been this high, so it's hard to eat.
homes are flooded up to the roofs. Power lines skim the water's surface. Belongings bob down the river.
None of us expected it to come up this fast and be this high.
This is the result of historic water release from the Lake Livingston Dam. Homes that are here right on the bank of the Trinity River on 11-foot stilts now with only a couple feet of clearance below them. A lull in the rainfall, but the Trinity River Authority says Lake Livingston is still rising, forcing the group to release historic amounts of water from the dam, dumping it onto these homes.
We're, I guess, more accustomed to it. It's not as shocking for us because we're so used to it.
Let me hold on to it.
For the homes still above the surge.
We're good as of right now.
For those forced to evacuate,
We know who needs help.
coming to grips with the loss has just begun.
Random storm that has caused all this.
And I wonder what it looks like now, because, thank you, Louisiana Skywatch, Liberty County is in between Houston and Beaumont, Texas, and that's an area that got an awful lot of rain today. And Florida, severe weather causes damage in Pinellas and Pasco counties.
Donna Montgomery got an alert on her phone Tuesday warning her about severe weather.
Severe thunderstorm warning, possible tornadoes, high winds, rain, and hail. So that went off, and I mean, it wasn't 3 minutes, and then the real wind really hit hard.
Alert Pinellas is an emergency notification service for Pinellas County. An alert went out Tuesday warning about severe weather as showers and thunderstorms move through the area.
A lot of roofs blown off, carports, trees, limbs, just rubbish blowing around.
Largo Fire Rescue says about 15 structures were damaged in the Point West Mobile Home Park. Some homes lost its roof, others had carports destroyed. No injuries were reported, and the Red Cross is assisting homeowners.
Our maintenance man that works here in the park, he had an actual 2x4 come through his bedroom wall, and he took a picture of that. And if he'd been in his bed, he may not be here.
In Newport Richey, more storm damage. A Ring doorbell camera captures strong winds damaging the roof of Zen Kitchen and Bar in Newport Richey. The restaurant saying on Facebook portions of the roof were lost, causing damage to the restaurant and bar area. But everyone is safe. The restaurant expects to be back open on Thursday. Julie Salmon, ABC Action News.
This is just our weather now. I mean, this is going on somewhere in the United States every single day. And Polka City, Oklahoma, baseball-sized hail destroyed vehicles. This was 2 days ago. I can't play this. This is Live Storms Media. But as you can see, so is it just that car? Of course not. A whole lot of cars got it. They got it. The updates on the wildfires burning in Alberta in Fort McMurray. I posted videos on the Fort McMurray wildfire, quote unquote, in 2016, and they took out 2,400 homes. It's back.
On the fire's active edges, and were supported by the wildfire evacuation orders and alerts in Grand Prairie County decreased in scope. But even as that happened, in the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo issued an evacuation order for parts of Fort McMurray in response to a wildfire burning south of the city. As residents rush to leave their homes, I know that this will bring back difficult memories from the devastating fires of 2016. And I'm sure these memories will create fear and uncertainty for many in Fort McMurray, and my sympathy is with everyone facing this situation. But safety must remain our top priority. Our government is constantly monitoring the situation, and our Emergency Management Cabinet Committee met again yesterday evening to be briefed and to plan. It's important that everyone know that we are prepared to do whatever is necessary to keep Albertans safe.
Our highest priority right now is the wildfire south of Fort McMurray. I'll provide a bit more information to the update that Minister Lowen has provided. The wildfire is classified as MWF-017. It is out of control and is now nearly 21,000 hectares in size. The wildfire grew significantly to the northeast yesterday, and it was driven by gusty winds. As of this morning, the closest point of the fire is about 5.5 kilometers from the Fort McMurray landfill and 4.5 kilometers from the intersection of Highways 63 and 881. Night vision helicopters worked overnight to drop water on the fire's active edges and were supported by firefighters on the ground looking for hotspots. Less than 1 millimeter of rain fell on the wildfire overnight. Active fire behavior is expected today, but it should be less than what we saw yesterday, thanks to cooler temperature and weaker winds.
I'm Maya Sargent, your Northwest Tallahassee neighborhood reporter in the Southwest community. I'm hearing from faculty who were inside the building when Friday's tornado came through and taking a look at the cleanup process to get students back in school.
Sorry, I had to do something. Oh, how about Italy? How about Milan? Italy. Massive flooding.
Milan, Italy is facing record heavy rainfall in the past 170 years, signaling an unfavorable rainy season. The severe weather is forecast to continue across much of northern and parts of central Italy until at least May 17. Thunderstorms and heavy rain have affected many parts of the region since late on May 14th as a weather system passed over northern Italy. Additional showers and storms are expected through May 16th before conditions gradually improve on May 17th.
La Croce Lombarda, guarda! Oddio, l'acqua! Oddio! Aiuto, Dio santo! Ah, mi sto facendo tutti i piedi, guarda!
Gusty winds, lightning, and hail may accompany the storms. Heavy rain during storms on the night of May 14th to 15th caused the Lambro River in the eastern suburbs of Milan to overflow its banks, causing flooding in the Pontelambro district. Some buildings were flooded and many roads were blocked by floodwaters. An unconfirmed number of people have been evacuated from the area.
Il muretto, c'è l'acqua quasi raggiunto il muretto.
Emergency services responded to several other calls for assistance across other parts of Lombardy due to the severe weather. Strong winds, heavy rain, and hail also caused flooding and downed trees in Medina in the Emilia-Romagna region.
Questo è un grosso problema, molto grosso. Porta via il negozio qua, adesso porta via macchine e tutto.
Facciamolo corto.
Madonna, un pancale che attraversa la strada.
Possible across the affected area in the coming hours. Officials are likely to update and expand weather warning coverage in the coming days. Areas of the city, torrential rainfall was recorded with an accumulation of over 100 millimeters since midnight. On Via Rainer Maria Rilke, divers from the fire department rescued several disabled people trapped in a structure. In Monza and Lodi, these are particularly important storms, with a return cycle of over 10 years at this time of year. This is what the website Il Matteo. It claims, emphasizing that, at the end of the...
Not good. Not good. That looks like Brazil. Deadly heat waves are showing India's struggle to protect 1.4 billion population at increasing climate risk, fatal heat waves, testing India's ability to protect them. Brazilian athletes give up Olympics to help flood victims.
Homes underwater, rooftop rescues, and streets washed away. This is the worst flooding Brazil's seen in 80 years.
As you can see, the crisis is still here and it's very strong.
Relentless rain sent river levels swelling, with Brazil's Rio Grande do Sul getting the worst of it. Flooding has now decimated entire neighborhoods. Close to 150 people are dead, and more than 120 people are unaccounted for, according to local officials.
Ainda tentam ter vantagem, sim.
As some wait in agony for news of their loved ones, others are returning home, trying to pick up scattered pieces of their lives and livelihoods.
Primeira coisa é tristeza, né?
The first thing is the sadness and the dream and a life that we created there, and to have it taken away like that is heartbreaking. I don't even have the words, this farmer says.
É desolador, não tenho nem palavras para.
It's not just a financial loss, it's a feeling. The planting of a seedling, the little horse that you had there and that you loved more, and now you don't have anymore. So I can't even express myself. But in between all of the devastation, there are stories of everyday heroes. Like Fabio Nunez.
Nossa, ela tem muito gosto de pimenta mesmo.
Nunez is one of Brazil's top chefs. Normally, he'd be in his restaurant crafting new dishes. Instead, he spent the last 14 days rescuing people trapped in their homes.
We found people like after 4 days that they were just floating in the water, like on anything that they could hold.
And preparing meals to feed the newly homeless.
My family is here. Like this is my hometown. I was born in that hospital right there. Yeah, it's important for me to be here because I need to be a better human, and the universe put me here right now so I'll help to rebuild, and I'll help.
I need to be a better human. Wow. Wow. You don't hear that from very many people. And we need to hear that from a whole lot of people. So corporations are privatizing tap water, and we're all paying the price.
The challenge that we have today is when I have a senior citizen call me and tell me she's peeing in the backyard because her water bill and her sewer bill doubled. And no one cared about that.
Across the country, private companies are swooping in to buy water and sewer systems from the local governments that own them. The result for customers? Skyrocketing bills more than double what they used to be at a time when inflation is hitting Americans' wallets hard.
The motive for investor-owned utilities is profit, revenue, and that's what matters. It's not water quality, it's not reliability, it's not whether the customers are happy, it's not your neighbor, it's just a money-making machine.
They present their efforts as a win-win scenario to save taxpayers money and local governments from financial ruin.
Aqua pitched it as free money, money you can do anything you want with.
What really that is just a bait and switch technique. They promise the world and they deliver pain to the customers who have to foot the bill into perpetuity.
And over the past decade, investor-owned corporations have successfully lobbied many state governments, like Pennsylvania, to make it easier and more attractive for local governments to make the sale. And when those companies come knocking in their town, many people don't know what's happening until it's too late.
It generally isn't done in broad daylight. Nobody's for it.
This is a story about the corporate takeover of one of our most important natural resources, the consequences for communities, and how an unlikely coalition of people are fighting to keep water public and affordable.
Keep water public and affordable. What an idea. Huh? No. You got sleazy government officials padding their pockets by selling off the public water utilities to corporations. Oh man, we're in big doo-doo. We are. Sorry to say, but we really are. How about the crazy adults? The crazy adults that we have in our country treating children like what? I mean, really? Okay. I don't even know what. Hey, you guys, contribute. Put in the chat what you think of this guy with these two boys fishing.
You can find Luke Hatcher fishing anytime he gets the chance.
It's just fun. You go out there and I chase the big ones.
Monday, Luke and his friend Tristan were looking for big bass at a pond inside the gated Esplanade section of the Starkey Ranch community, and as they were leaving, this happened.
Bro, you got a knife?
Yeah, get off. What the?
Yo! I was about to ask to pet his dog too, but I waved hello to him, and next thing you know, like without saying a word, he whips out his knife and starts cursing at me and starts chasing me around.
Luke pulled out his cell phone to record what was going on, and both boys ran out of the neighborhood. Were you scared at all?
A little bit. He chased us the first time, and then in between it all, decided to get his mail. Took a mail break, and then decided to chase us again.
The kids were able to memorize that mailbox and relay the info to Pasco Sheriff's deputies. They also showed deputies this video, leading to the arrest of the man with the knife, identified by authorities as Edward Cullum.
The two things I thought right away are, I'm glad they ran away from him instead of engaging, and how brilliant it was to actually capture it on video.
Many neighborhoods often have issues about whether or not people can fish in ponds. It is legal in public waters, but then comes the question if those fishing are standing on private property. The HOA for Esplanade has a no fishing rule even for residents. Some in Esplanade say teens have been warned about trespassing before, while others in the neighborhood say there's no excuse for pulling a knife.
There's no reason, no matter what they're doing, even if they're being disrespectful, which I wasn't, but a knife being pulled on somebody is like too much for that.
Luke admits they've been told not to fish in Esplanade before, and after this run-in, the kids don't plan on ever going back. In Pasco County, Eric Waxler, ABC Action.
People truly are out of control. Whistleblower says EPA failed to protect East Palestine residents after train derailment. And it goes on and on and on. No help for the residents of East Palestine.
Right, we've been covering this since the derailment and the toxic burn here, and I have to say this is the most consequential reporting on this topic that we're putting out. This whistleblower, Robert Krotul, spent like 4 decades with former Department of Defense and then the EPA. He was essentially behind creating what's called the Aspect. This is the plane that they send up to detect chemicals in chemical disasters. Normal protocol, he says, is that the plane is sent up within an hour or hours. He says that is not what happened here, and it's nothing like he's seen in his career. Take a look.
In East Palestine, we had a big delay. We noticed there was a big delay in getting the aircraft up to Pittsburgh.
How big of a delay?
5 days.
5 days?
5 days.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I'm still asking myself that question, why you would deploy this aircraft 5 days late.
Now that plane, Krotul says, should have been there immediately, flying and gathering data for days. They should have been collecting data while the toxic plume was in the sky. He says even more troubling, he says they turned off the chemical sensors over the creeks in East Palestine as it was flying, Natasha.
You know, and Rich, we're also learning that there were attempts by the EPA to silence this whistleblower. What can you tell us about that?
So he raised questions internally, and he tried to get answers and was met with resistance at every level. He even filed a FOIA, Freedom of Information request, after a while to try and learn the mission of this whole project. He was told if you don't rescind that FOIA request, you're going to be fired from your job.
That's right. Don't tell the truth. Otherwise, you'll pay stiff consequences. Well, there's an awful lot of residents of East Palestine and the surrounding area that are upset about this, but they knew it.
It's Linda and Russ Murphy. First, I've got to ask you both, what's your reaction to these claims by this whistleblower?
Well, I have to say that Mr. Krotul, I'm very grateful to him. Not many people have the courage to stand up and do what he did. They're more willing to stay silent and stay safe. We've not been silent, and we're definitely not feeling very safe. I am just grateful that he did it, and we've known all along that things just don't add up. And this is, I'm sure, the tip of the iceberg. When people hide things, it's because they have something to hide. And the EPA has been hiding things since day one.
And that's exactly right. If you want to listen to this interview, the link is in the chat for you. There's more. This woman
of East Palestine and lived there when this disaster happened. Jamie, when you hear his recollection of what happened in the hours after this derailment and what he says were failures, how does that land with you?
I don't think it's a surprise to people of East Palestine. We've known since the beginning that there was a cover-up. We were being told everything was fine, and our bodies were telling us different. The fact of the matter is there's a gap in the research. The science that EPA is relying on is single chemical exposure. There's no research on multiple chemical exposure. Thank goodness for researchers like Dr. Ghulam at the University of California, San Diego. She's now coming in to study us, like the lab rats, that we've become. This lawsuit settlement says right in it that we cannot sue the EPA. That just shows you right there that the EPA is in bed with Norfolk Southern. We have been desperately seeking help for over a year now. We tuck our kids into bed at night, not knowing whether or not it's our houses that are making our children sick. If the science isn't there, when did they start listening to the people?
What do you think is the motivation if things weren't done right, that it was not routine to do some of the things and not ask the questions that needed to be asked? What do you think was behind that, the why?
Money. Norfolk Southern basically controls the government with their money. We've seen this. It took Biden over a year to come here. His son died from chemical exposure to the burn pits when he was in the military. Dr. Ghulam is the scientist that's credited for making that connection between our veterans and the multiple chemical exposure from the burn pits. Why did he wait that long? Because he knew it wasn't safe. Why has the EPA failed us? The CDC failed us?
This new military-grade...
Wow, a lot of commercials are coming in now. So, yeah, here is the link. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Well, that's what you get when you're in an area that doesn't have good internet connection. Oh well. Yeah, look, it's so flippin' obvious now that our federal government, our local government, our state governments are not representing the people. And they're not doing the job that Americans pay them to do. And it's been obvious for many, many years. And Americans just don't do anything. They keep paying the taxes, that's for sure. To pay people to lie to them, to destroy them. Oh my God, it is remarkable. Exceptional. Tyson Foods CEO unsure when nation's collapsing beef herd will reverse. The nation's beef cattle herd is at the lowest it has been in more than half a century. And it ain't reversing, especially with bird flu now that's in cattle. And, well, they're just going to have to kill off the cattle, right? All right, so this was a video. Might be on YouTube, but it's yet again, we've known this for a long time, but why are they allowed to do this to our food? Why are they allowed to do this? And everything that she is saying, Melissa, in the very beginning, is true. Ow. I can't keep my leg from hitting this table. Everything she's saying. There are countries that still have good food, that sustain good health. Not here, not in America, and we've known that forever. And our food has been pretty much taken over everything. Everything. People say, well, buy organic. Do you know if it's organic? Do you really know? Well, it says organic. Do you know that it's okay to lie to the American consumer? That they can lie on their labels and say natural and organic? Well, I get mine from organic farms. Do you know if that organic farm is actually organic, or are they spraying their crops with very dangerous pesticides? I've posted on it. A whole lot of people have posted on it. Careful for yourself, Carol. I don't get what that means. But here we go.
The last video I made was just to show that they're putting ingredients that have been banned in other countries into foods when they obviously don't have to. And to ask the question, why? Why is that? I've been seeing a lot of people on social media lately posting stories about how they go to other countries. They leave this continent and they go to other countries, and after being there, not even for very many days, they feel better. And they recognize that that feeling of being healthier and feeling generally overall better, having more energy, less body aches, et cetera, sleeping better, all of it is coming from the food that they're eating being of higher quality. And the people who never leave this country don't have an outside perspective of seeing what that actually is in practice. I didn't until we went over to Europe for the filming of this movie we've been working on for 5 years. That was my first time really leaving this country. And I went to different various countries over there and I realized something. The food over there, because I'm a label reader. I read labels like people read novels. Okay, I'm all up in it. I want to know what's going in my body now. The labels over there, like in the UK, for example, you can read a label and it's very basic what's in that food. You do not need a high-level chemistry degree to interpret it like it's a Egyptian hieroglyphic tablet you found in a cave somewhere. You actually could just pick up something off a shelf and read the label and go, oh, this is what's in the food I'm about to eat. And you know what that is. It's amazing. And they have whole stores, like organic gas station-like stores. Do you know here in America, if you found an organic gas station, that would be like finding a flying unicorn or something. That they don't exist. You can't just go into a gas station and expect to find something responsible to eat, hardly ever. You'll be lucky if they have anything there that's not filled with chemicals and additives. Good luck. But over there, whole convenience stores that are organic. When I saw that, I filmed it. I couldn't believe it existed. I was like, wow, this is like seeing Bigfoot or something. I got to get this on tape so I can show the folks back home. And what we have in this country in way of food protection is a ridiculous clown-like joke. We have something known as GRAS, generally recognized as safe, which when people hear it, oh, the FDA says it's GRAS. They're like, oh, it's generally recognized as safe. But what does that actually mean? We generally recognize that it's safe? It has a safe costume on and we stare at it from across the room and we go, I generally recognize that says the word safe on it. I recognized it. That doesn't mean it's safe though. It's a joke. So this is up on the Environmental Working Group website, which I referenced in the last video. This is a really great website for learning about what's going on in our food, in our skincare, in our environment. It's a really good website for that. And it's talking here about exactly what GRAS is in very simple terms. Food and chemical companies are permitted to approve the use of new, potentially harmful additives and other substances in snacks, drinks, and more without the FDA's review or approval, all thanks to a regulatory loophole known as GRAS. Generally recognized as safe is a food category that was created by Congress in 1958. And when they created that, a lot of these chemicals didn't exist. And that designation was intended to apply to ingredients that most people know are okay. Basic things like chicken, water, salt. While the FDA usually has to approve substances intentionally added to food, that's not the case if it's designated GRAS. Once it's designated GRAS, that ingredient can bypass the FDA's pre-market review process, which allows all kinds of stuff to be put in our food that the FDA has never once determined is actually safe. The GRAS rule, finalized in 1997, created a voluntary notification system that lets manufacturers bypass federal regulators' review. Companies themselves can identify and use new GRAS ingredients, but are not required to share that information with the FDA. So that's the company saying, yeah, we said it's safe. We're the company that's going to sell that and make the money off of it. And we say, this is we recognize that it's safe. And the FDA said, oh, you recognize it's safe? I guess we will too. Back pat, handshake. That's how that works. This process has led to the addition of hundreds of chemicals to our food products without FDA oversight. Since 2000, food and chemical companies have used the GRAS loophole to approve 99% of new food chemicals. 99% have been approved through the GRAS loophole since 2000, according to a 2022 Environmental Working Group analysis. This leaves both the public and the FDA, charged with regulating our food system, in the dark about what's being put in our freaking food. Then they quote Michael Taylor, former Obama food safety czar Michael Taylor. We simply do not have the information to vouch for the safety of many of these chemicals. From this WAPO article, food additives on the rise as FDA scrutiny wanes. Michael Taylor, we have talked about many times. We used to make videos on food and stuff like this all the time. But Michael Taylor is a poster boy for how the revolving door between our government and the corporations that government is supposed to regulate works.
Oh, but Obama was supposed to be getting rid of all of those lobbyists. You know, the revolving door Those lobbyists coming in and out of government, going back into corporations, coming back into government. Oh, right, he didn't. Yes, Michael Taylor. I remember posting videos on Michael Taylor. I remember trying to have conversations with my former Democrat, liberal Democrat, crazy immature friends. Didn't care. No one cared. I was just negative. Oh, you're so serious, Carol. Can't you just get off it? No. I think our food is really important. I can't stress this enough. Buy guns and ammo.
Where are you from?
Syria.
Syria?
Syria.
Ah, what's your name?
Milad.
Milad? Why'd you come to the U.S.? Why coming to U.S.? No?
No, English.
Okay. Where are you from?
From Syria.
Syria? English?
So.
Why are you coming to the U.S.? Why come?
Because we love America and we need a nice style, a nice life.
Yeah, coming for jobs?
Yeah, a nice job, a nice because our country very weird.
What's your name?
Danny.
Danny. Good luck.
Thank you.
Where are you from?
Syria.
Syria, too? What's your name?
Ahmed.
Ahmed? Same question. Why do you come to the U.S.?
Hablo español o árabe, no? Inglés, español.
Where are you from?
Another obvious. We are being taken over. Very obvious here. I can't play this because it circles and circles and circles. So, I will put the link in the chat. And this woman found military dog tags from other countries. Oh, really? Okay, emergency alert, Muslim military. I can't even see that. Circling. Museum military dog tags found. Did I say museum? Muslim military dog tags found San Diego. I found this alarming. Okay, it is alarming. I can't believe that we're just going to sit and do nothing. Alrighty. So, security risk? The unprecedented surge in Chinese illegal immigration? Homeland Security Committee. Another congressional hearing on this.
I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Today's subcommittee hearing will examine the unprecedented numbers of Chinese foreign nationals crossing the border and whether this represents a risk to Homeland Security. I think we have a visual. And there it is. Border Patrol records show that from 2007 to 2021, encounters of Chinese nationals illegally entering the United States at the southwest border were relatively rare, averaging a little over 1,000 per year. That changed dramatically under the Biden administration, rising from 1,970 in fiscal year 2022 to 24,048 in fiscal year 2023, an 1,100% increase. In the last 7 months, from October to April, Border Patrol has already encountered 27,496 Chinese nationals, shattering last year's total. At this pace, the full fiscal year will see encounters of illegal Chinese immigrants 2,300% higher than the rate just 2 years ago. This is a national security concern, and it's not a new one. 1 year ago, the current Border Patrol Chief and then Del Rio Sector Chief Jason Owens testified in a transcribed interview with the committee that, quote, even without the increase, people coming from the PRC would be of concern to me. That's always going to be a group we look at more closely and work with our partners with FBI to make sure they don't pose a threat, end quote. I agree that there is a serious national security concern, and we should be looking closely at individuals coming from communist China, the United States' greatest adversary on the world stage. Unfortunately, under the Biden administration, Border Patrol agents have been instructed that when processing Chinese nationals, they should conduct short, basic interviews that include only generic background questions instead of in-depth interviews. In other words, there is no serious vetting. These questions simply ask about military service, education, birthplace in China, employment, and political affiliation with the CCP. While agents only proceed to an in-depth interview if one of the answers in the basic interview is flagged, it begs the question, how likely is it that someone showing up at the border is going to admit that they are here to do the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party or perhaps the People's Liberation Army? Instead, that person will likely provide the answers their smugglers told them to give Border Patrol. Just give the right answers and come right on into the homeland. These limited interviews, combined with a lack of reliable information from China to verify biographical claims and limited translation services, severely constrain CBP's ability to conduct rigorous vetting for criminal and national security concerns. One Border Patrol sector chief told the committee that it could be difficult to determine the motives of those detained who come from distant countries like China, stating that, quote, "We try our best to figure out why they're coming, but of course that information can be hidden. Their agendas, their ideologies, the reason for them coming could be missed," close quote. This is especially true for gotaways, those who avoid apprehension and who reportedly pay as much as $60,000 to be smuggled illegally into the United States. Some of you may have seen some news made, I think just yesterday, finally a document emerging verifying that the number of gotaways in total is quite large. I think it's about 1.7 million, if I remember correctly, across the Biden administration. But among them, presumably there are some number of Chinese nationals, if the numbers that are showing up at the southwest border is any indication.
You know, the only thing that congressional hearings are good for is Americans should be listening to them. Yeah, you can bet that they're full of shit in terms of their concern and whether or not they're going to do anything about what they're talking about, because we have seen congressional hearings. I've watched them my entire adult life, and guess what? It's theater for the American people to believe that these people are actually doing anything. How many people have been posting on this one particular sub-issue of the illegal migrants crossing the border? The Chinese illegal migrants, who are military-aged men. And now we have tens of thousands of them inside our country. While this is going on, we've got the FBI issuing warnings. Oh my God. Well, the Chinese are going to cause sabotage to our infrastructure. They're going to poison our water systems. And meanwhile, we have all of these crossing the border. So forget about them. Who gives a shit about them? Take the information and realize, holy shit, we are absolutely 100% being set up. And Americans really should do something about that. I'm going to post the link to Nick Shirley's video. He titles this as Inside New York City's Most Dangerous Migrant Hood. Not so sure it's the most dangerous, but I like Nick Shirley. I think that, yeah, he's doing a good job on interviewing people who have come here. And this woman from Ecuador just wants to go home. A whole lot of people, she said something about 400,000 is what she paid to come here. And is that the sucre? Is that how you pronounce it? The Ecuadorian dollar? And then she said something like 23,000 US dollars. I don't believe she converted that right. It's more like $6,000. I think that's what she was talking about, but a whole lot of people just heard the 23,000 and thought, you know, why would anybody? Yeah, 23,000, you could live very nicely in Ecuador. You wouldn't want to come, you know, because you think you're going to have a better life here. But she talks about how, you know, they have people on TikTok encouraging people to come across the border. Your life is just going to be grand. And then she found out it's all a lie. It ain't grand. She wants to go back to Ecuador. Hezbollah leader threatens to open the sea to flood Europe with migrants. Lebanon currently is home to 2 million displaced Syrians. Well, I don't think it'll be any different than the flood that is taking place already in Western countries. Adrenochrome pills, smuggled drug capsules with the powdered flesh of babies? What?
South Korea reports seizing thousands of smuggled drug capsules containing an unusual added ingredient, the powdered flesh from dead babies. Some people believe they can cure disease. The Korea Customs Service says they were made in northeastern China from babies whose bodies were chopped into small pieces and dried on stoves before being turned into powder. But they wouldn't say where they believe the babies came from or exactly who made the capsules, citing possible diplomatic friction with Beijing. The contents, though, were identified by scientific testing.
When we analysed it, the powdered material sequence is better than a 99.7% match with a human DNA sequence.
No one's been reported ill from ingesting them, but scientist Shin Woo-gi warns they have the potential to be dangerous.
We also see superbacteria and other germs and viruses harmful to a person if consumed.
Some of the capsules were carried in luggage. Others were sent by international mail. The smugglers told customs officials they believed the capsules were ordinary stamina boosters and didn't know the manufacturing process. One official said no one's been punished, but a customs clearance director at Incheon Airport warned consumers should be careful about health food supplements where the ingredients aren't clearly.
Good way to get rid of supplements. All right, so can't go there right now, but I'm gonna go here. Neighbors report smell hazmat suits after a bird flu outbreak. Oh, are they gonna do a bird flu pandemic? They may very well.
At our facilities.
We're experiencing a number of detections in flocks on the west side of Michigan.
According to birds have been affected with the highly pathogenic avian influenza or bird flu in Michigan. That number is for the latest outbreak, according to the USDA. We first told you last month the virus was detected in Michigan's top egg producer, Herbrooks, in Ionia County. Neighbors nearby say it's been an active few weeks as state and federal regulators respond.
It has been very smelly, lots of flies.
That's how neighbors living along Grand River Avenue in Saranac describe what it's been like the last few weeks.
There's been lots of traffic, lots of things going on.
Pictures taken beside this neighbor's home show workers in hazmat suits and large piles of what looks like dirt.
They will take one piece of equipment, fill it with, it looks like a big pile of dirt, put it in the back of a semi, and take it out to the backfield.
Last month, the state found avian influenza nearby at Herbrooks. A spokesperson with the poultry ranch sent me this statement this week. It says, quote, Herbrooks is working closely with federal and state regulators and implementing the protocols and procedures we are required to follow as we disinfect our facilities. We are working as safely and quickly as possible to resume normal operations at our facilities.
We're experiencing a number of detections in flocks on the west side of Michigan.
According to IMDAR, there are poultry detections in Newaygo, Ottawa, and Ionia counties. Tim Boring, the director of the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, says when avian flu is detected, there are a lot of established procedures and policies to follow by the USDA. Boring didn't comment on Herbrooks, but he did have some general thoughts on avian influenza and how it's handled.
It's lethal in birds. It's highly contagious. So eradication of the virus from the environment as soon as possible is one of the highest priorities here.
Boring says, unfortunately, there's only one way to handle this.
Preemptive depopulation of flocks is...
Kill them. Kill it all. Kill. We don't even know if these flocks even have bird flu. And what was the smell? I have to wonder if they're killing them off and then, I don't know, putting them through some grinder. What the fuck? All right, I don't get our world. Industrial production disappoints. Manufacturing contracts. No kidding. Really? Oh, the economy is doing beautifully. No, it is not. Manufacturing in our country is pretty much dead. U.S. housing starts and permits ugly in April, after huge revisions, of course. Can't believe those government numbers. In fact, how does anyone believe these numbers? What is this about? This is about the jobless. We don't now, unemployment, that word's gone. Unemployment figures is gone. Now it's jobless claims. Why? To fool Americans? Anything could fool Americans. Jobless claims. That's new. Unalive. Unalive people. How is it that people just pick up on all of these changes and just start using that vocabulary like we've never had a different vocabulary before? I do believe it's to just confuse. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. Jobless claims decline after last week's big surge amid New York chaos. Okay, so 222,000 Americans filed for jobless benefits for the first time last week, down from a revised 232,000 the prior week. So it's a 10,000 decline, and that's a big deal. How do you believe any of these numbers coming out of government? You can't. You just can't. I'm going to play a few minutes of the Money GPS. I'm going to put his channel link in the chat. You might want to check out his channel. You might want to subscribe. Just a few minutes. America is running out of money and nobody cares.
Sensitized to all the news. It piles up each and every day, and we just say, whatever, it's not gonna be any change, there's nothing's gonna happen, we gotta avoid it, we gotta ignore it, look over there, it's a shiny object. And yet so much is going on, and I'm going to show you why this is such a concern. What's on your mind? We're gonna discuss that first. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. In today's video, I want to talk about my favorite topic, inflation. Who causes it? Oh, don't look over there. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. The most important financial problem facing U.S. families. Look, high cost of living and inflation. This is it. And then in a second place, far second place, is the cost of owning or renting a home. It's the same. What about this? Number 3, too much debt or not enough money to pay debts. Then you get into healthcare. Then you get into lack of money or low wages and energy costs and so on. That's pretty serious when you think about it, okay? So this is what people are thinking of, not having enough cash. Not having enough cash. And what has happened right now is very different than what we had experienced, let's say 2019. Yes, of course, it's always getting more expensive, but the surge has been so, it's like as if it's a recession and people lost their jobs. During those periods of time, you have, this a calamity where everybody is, the food bank, everything, all that stuff. But it's technically not a recession. And technically, it's, the unemployment is so fantastic. It's so low. And what? People can't afford their essentials, the necessities. And at the same time, you could look at two factors, all really just basically crushing you from one side and the other, or from top and bottom. You have the Federal Reserve printing the currency into infinity or confetti, and then you can see what the government is doing, spending like there's no tomorrow. It's creating a perfect storm that's making it more and more difficult for people just to get by. We have this chart here, percent of Americans with no retirement savings. And certainly, of course, younger, if you're 18 to 29, that's probably not a first priority. You're probably more worried about getting a home and so on. But once you get into your 40s, you would think that people would start to be able to accumulate. But now, not the case. And I think, the people that are in this younger age, they're going to get into their 40s and none of them, or, the vast majority of people will be unable to. I think the percentages are just going to get worse. That is frightening, very frightening, because you may have people going into the workforce and at least they'll try to never leave the workforce. And that's a huge difference than what we had before was as those people leave the workforce, that opens up a job for somebody else younger. But if that doesn't happen, then you got an issue, okay? Because there's more and more people that are technically able to work, but not able to find a job, all right? Or at least one that pays the bills. This is a problem. The simple reason why 80% of Americans can't save money. Look, you can see people just don't have enough cash because they're plain and simple. I mean, the wages for a lot of the jobs haven't kept up with the rate at which they've devalued the currency and made everything more expensive. A lot of people just want to point fingers and they say, look, it's McDonald's that's the problem because they increased their prices. Well, they may, I don't know about their profit margins specifically, but a lot of these companies, maybe they did increase more than they needed to, but we all know that input costs have risen. We know that. What was the first thing they did? They increased in California. They said, okay, all the fast food workers, you're making $20 an hour now. Immediately, they raised their prices because they just have a calculation. Okay, this is the amount we've got to do to get back to where we were. That's just a matter of fact. So the point is, the price of stuff, of everything, has risen. But nobody wants to look at the fact that they've been punishing this currency. An often overlooked jobs indicator points to deep cracks in Canada's labor market. But let me show you something. What's interesting about this is out of Bloomberg, is that this is what people don't understand about the US labor market. This is huge, okay? Once you understand, the reason I'm showing you this is this is so hidden in the United States, and I'm just found it here, and I thought I have to show my subscribers this because they need to understand it. They probably already do. I mean, I've talked about it many, many times before, but it was just interesting to see it written out like this. Canada's job market is less robust than the country's most closely watched employment indicator suggests. Data from the Payroll Employment Survey, this is a census of all paid workers in Canada, indicates the country added a mere 17,000 jobs over the 6-month period ending in February. That's a far cry from the 183,000 reported in the labor force survey. Polls.
See, lying goes on in all countries. And boy, you would think that the ordinary people would get fed up with the lies and would demand the lying stop. No. All right, I'm going to read some of this article. It's, one misfortune away from insolvency. See, that means that all of these people who are one misfortune away from insolvency are very stressed out. A significant percentage of households that are considered middle class are one misfortune away from insolvency. We can summarize the changes in our economy over the past 2 generations with one word: precarity. Precarity. Precarious? Precarity. As life for the bottom 90% of American households has become far more precarious over the past 40 years, despite the rising GDP and the wealth as measured in this phantom capital, this unreal, surreal, phantom, delusional society that we've got going, where it was still common 40 years ago to work for a company for much or most of one's career and have a private sector pension. Now private sector pensions have vanished, replaced by self-managed 401k funds, and private sector work is characterized by a series of not just job changes, but career changes. The source of one's livelihood can dry up and blow away almost overnight. And to fill the hole, many turn to gig work with zero benefits that saddles the worker with self-employment taxes, 15.3% of all earnings, as the self-employed gig worker must pay the employee and the employer shares of the Social Security, Medicare, payroll taxes. 40 years ago, households with health care insurance being driven into bankruptcy by medical bills was unknown. Now, this is commonplace. We're forced to ask, what exactly does insurance even mean if our share of medical bills is so burdensome that we're forced into insolvency? Just one of many examples of the increasing precarity of life in America. Need dental work, insurance covers only the basics. The rest requires savings, an inheritance, a line of credit, or a top 10% income. Speaking of income, even a substantial earned income doesn't go that far nowadays. Consider what a typical family spends on what we consider middle-class birthrights: eating out, going to a movie. Tandy writes, we're a family of 6, 1 man, 1 woman, 2 teen boys, 1 teen girl, 1 preteen. Some examples of how much it costs. Subway or Chipotle, $70 plus. McDonald's, $60 plus. Pizza joint, $100 plus. Bar style, $130. Outback, $200 plus. Bi-monthly Sam's Club, $700 plus. Monthly groceries, $700. Movie, $120. Wow. Oh boy. All right. I'll post the link. You can read more about it. But yeah, we are now living very precarious lives. A whole lot. And it's not fun. How about those squatters? Yeah, a squatter can actually make you insolvent.
And then here was where the main holdup was.
This is what Terry Boyette's home looked like after she successfully evicted a man who she says broke in and refused to leave. She told senators today it took 7 months to get him out.
During this entire time, I paid utilities, property taxes, and for water and homeowners insurance, as well as my mortgage to try and save my home.
Boyette says it started when she went to Florida to care for her sick mother. A man she'd previously hired as a handyman who knew she was leaving town moved in.
The police always told me they weren't sure this was a crime, that it seemed like a civil matter and I should sue for recovery. I was also advised that by the insurance company. The person in my home is a homeless crackhead. What am I supposed to sue them for? Nothing. To date, he's out walking on the street and I'm $150,000 in debt to replace everything in my home and repair it.
Senators soon turned their anger from the squatter to police.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. He broke into your house?
Yes.
And the police department said that wasn't burglary?
No. It's not burglary if I'm not living there. And because I was not there for those 2 weeks, I was in Florida.
It doesn't matter whether you're living there or not.
It does to the police. It absolutely does to the police.
Is this Mesquite Police Department?
Yes.
Yes. I think Senator Hall, you and I represent that area. We probably need to talk to the police department.
And I'm putting out a warning right now that the Mesquite Police Department is going to be invited to the next hearing.
Minutes later, Dallas Senators Royce West and Bob Hall pulled Boyette out of the hearing and walked her upstairs to get on the phone with Mesquite's city manager and police chief.
And she's been, frankly, getting what she has described as the runaround by the police department.
During the 15-minute call, the chief said the department did not have record of Boyette's original call. According to Boyette, while she called the non-emergency line the first time, other times 911 was called.
We had several calls out there. I called, I believe my neighbor called, a friend of mine called.
By the end of this call, city leaders promised to investigate further.
I think our goal is to review this case, especially for Ms. Boyette, make sure she understands where some of the communication broke down, and we'll be totally transparent if we did something wrong.
Boyette told the I-Team she left the room feeling like someone was finally listening.
Homeowners are kind of the lifeblood of a state. We pay the property taxes, we fund schools, we're the ones who fund city parks. If you start taking away that, it destabilizes everything for everyone. So it is an important issue that's much bigger than just those of us who are here today.
And this is an issue that has leaders' attention. Today's was just the first hearing looking at how to change the law around squatting. Lieutenant Governor.
How about enforcing criminal law? This is such bullshit. It's like, there's got to be some bipartisan agreement on the border. Enforce immigration law. That's all that needs to be done. You don't have to reform anything. You need to enforce the law. How about enforce criminal law against these so-called squatters who break into people's homes? This is what gets me. So people in these areas listen to this horseshit, and they're not stepping up to the plate and demanding that the police actually enforce the law. You break into somebody's home, the homeowner should not have to spend 7 months getting out somebody who is a criminal. Oh my God. And am I just talking to the wind here? Holy shit. This really drives me nuts. It is so flippin' insane. Drives me nuts. So much so that I am going to end this live stream. I really hope that all of you are doing anything and everything that you can in your communities to try to create some community, that you're living honestly, that you're speaking honestly, that you're helping those in need, that you're trying to find out where the elderly are in your neighborhood and you're checking up on them. That if you're in areas close to all of these, these so-called natural weather events, that you're taking yourself down there, you're doing some volunteer work, you're donating something to people who have lost everything. And you know, most importantly, just like that person said, the chef in Brazil, doing what makes you a better human being. And that is, it's lifelong work. And it actually does mean that you have to look in the mirror, that you have to do some self-reflection, that you have to examine behaviors that you have had in the past that have hurt people. It's hard, it's painful, but it's necessary to grow. It's important to grow. Yeah, that's lifelong work as well. Growing and maturing. And a whole lot of wisdom comes from self-reflection. Changing your ways, changing the self-centeredness, the selfishness that you have, changing from being somebody who speaks a lot of their beliefs, but they don't actually practice and do what they believe. So I thank you all for showing up. I'm nervous about checking out what's happened in Texas, Louisiana, and so many other places. I hope you all stay safe. Yeah. Do what you can. Pick up some extra food when you're shopping. Drop it off at a local food pantry. Pick up some dog food or cat food. Put it in a bin that a lot of supermarkets have for the animal shelters, or bring it to a local animal shelter. Do what you can, because an awful lot of people are hurting. And we need to help out. So on that note, I say, I hope to see you tomorrow night. Good night and good luck. Ciao.